It's your girl from Philly. Welcome to another episode of Handcrafted Wines, where we make great wine from home the fun and easy way. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes.
I'm stuck in a cloud, drifting away to get out.
In today's episode, we're going to be making strawberry wine. It's a very easy wine to make and it's great for the summer. Our ingredients are 4.5 pounds of frozen strawberries that have been thawed. I have in reserve 3 cups of sugar. Not sure how much I'll use, but just in case we need it, it's there. And for our acid blend, today we're using the juice of half of a lemon, the zest of 1 lemon, and our usual players are going to be our pectic enzyme. The dynamic duo is back, guys. We have our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. We have our powdered tannin, and for our yeast, we're using Premier Classique. Let's get started. Now, the very first thing I want to do is dissolve 2 of these 3 cups of sugar just to see where, make sure that we have some sweetness in the bottom of it and see where we are once the fruit has been added. I'm using more fruit today than I typically use. 4.5 pounds is a lot, but I want a lot of strawberry flavor. There we go. So we're going to dissolve this with our boiled water. Not a lot because I don't know exactly where we're going to be once we add that much fruit to our fermenter. Let me get our spoon. Now, the great thing about frozen fruit is you can make a wine that's meant for a specific season, but you can make it before that season. So strawberry, of course, is a summer fruit, but because we have the advantage of frozen fruit, I'm able to make it so it'll be ready for the summertime. Another alternative is to make it a year in advance, and you'll also have it, which I do want to try in June, which is strawberry season in our area, getting some strawberries and some other berries and making wine with them so that they'll be ready for the following year. Now, that water was pretty hot, so it didn't take very long to dissolve the sugar. I see a few crystals floating around. I'll stir it a little bit more. Yeah, still some crystals floating around. Strawberry wine is one of those wines when you first start drinking wine, that's the one that you love. I think it was Boone Farm was the strawberry wine that everybody drank near me. So good, so sweet. And then to find out that you can make it yourself and it's just as easy and way cheaper is an extra plus. Okay. So we have all the sugar dissolved. Now I'm going to add our straining bag. It's a brand new bag. I washed it today, but I just want to blitz it with some Star San just to make sure it's completely sanitized. Now the frozen strawberries are pretty much mush at this point, but I am going to break them down with our immersion blender just to make sure that I get everything from the fruit that I possibly can, though our pectic enzyme will be helping that out as well. Now, this is going to be a little bit messy, but let's see what we can do. The frozen strawberries made so much juice, which is of course going to help with the wine because that's going to be part of our liquid. so we won't have to use as much water. Now, it is entirely possible to make a wine without adding any water at all, just letting the fruit break down and create the waters for, or the juice for your wine. You may not yield as much and it may take a little bit longer, but it's definitely possible. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's Canadian geese flying south for the summer. Or do they fly south? They fly south for the winter, so they're flying north for the summer. Outside my window. This is not too bad. It's going to take a while because it's a lot more fruit than I usually have. But again, I wanted that bright, vibrant red, and I wanted it full of strawberry flavor. Now there is the area that I live in, there's quite a few farms nearby where you can pick your own strawberries in the summertime. Something I used to do with the kids when they were younger, and I really enjoy it. Kind of like farm to table, but I guess farm to glass in this case. Okay, we're about a third way down. We have quite a few strawberries to work with. And I really want that ruby red color. Now I've made strawberry wine with less strawberries because I wanted it to be more like a rosé. And you still get lots and lots of strawberry flavor, but it was much on the lighter side. This I wanted to be very strongly flavored and very bold. I have a batch of strawberry banana wine that I made for my sweetheart that's doing really well. It took on a kind of goldish color. It didn't maintain a lot of red from the strawberries. Funny thing is, a lot of the wines where I thought they were going to be a specific color, they actually turned out to be totally different. I made a kiwi wine, and that is not green anymore. It's actually gold, but it smells so strongly of kiwi. Okay, we're almost there. A lot of this in the bowl is just juice. So I'm going to pour it in. And we get a lot of volume just from the fruit defrosting. So that's good. Now I'm going to hit it with our immersion blender, just because I want to break up the fruit very well before we go any further. You have to be careful with the immersion blender and your straining bag, because depending on the bag, it has a tendency to get caught. Okay, so now we basically just have strawberry pulp, which is what I wanted. I'll clean that later. Oh, turn the tea kettle on. Yeah, so it's a pulp in there, which is great. I'm going to add the lemon juice to it, as well as the zest of 1 lemon. And the lemon is just to brighten up the flavor of the strawberries. It's already a delicious fruit, but it just gives it that extra pop. So if we look at this, most of our liquid is in our bag. That's going to leach out as it begins to ferment. So that's absolutely fine. My main concern is getting a good hydrometer reading to knowing where we're starting with this. And keep in mind, if you're not interested in your ABV and things like that, the steps that I take with reading the hydrometer in the beginning, just to know what the potential wine is going to be, the potential ABV is going to be, it's not a step you have to take if you don't want to. It's just something that I'm interested in. I'm going to stop there. I think I may have gone a little too full, so I'm going to take a little bit out because I may have to add the additional sugar. I'll try to pour from what looks like just water. And if need be, I'll put this back in. I drew off 4 ounces, so that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to stir it again and check the specific gravity before we add anything additional. I'm going to press it back down just a little bit just to get out some of this pulp. Now this is the color I'm going for. Okay, we have plenty of pulp, so I think we can take a hydrometer reading. Enough leached out of the bag to be able to get an idea of where we are as far as our sugars. I'm going to draw 250 milliliters, which is the top line for our cylinder. Okay. It's at a good level. It's at the top of the red line, which is the lower numbers for wine. So the current reading is 1.070. I'd like it to be a little bit higher. So we're going to add the rest of the sugar. And stir that in thoroughly. I love the smell of strawberry wine. Now, strawberry does have a tendency, because there's so much pectin in the fruit, to blow out your airlock, which is one of the reasons why I was concerned with the levels being so high as well. So you have to keep an eye on strawberry. You want to make sure that the room is temperate but not too hot, and just watch it for the first 7 or so days, because it does have a tendency, like pineapple does and sometimes banana, to kind of foam up a bit inside of the fermenter. And I think it's also because of all the pectin in the fruit, it ferments so quickly. Even with me using the Premier Classique yeast, strawberry tends to ferment extremely quickly. And a fast fermenting wine is good because you get wine sooner, but actually when it ferments a little bit slower, you are able to retain more of the characteristics of the fruit. So I try to just keep my eye on this type of batch. So we're going to try it one more time. Now, fresh strawberries, these are frozen strawberries, but fresh strawberries actually have wild yeast on them. So if you wanted to make an experiment of just fermenting your strawberries as is and see what happens with the wild yeast, you want to rinse them, of course. You want to get them clean. But you can always try fermenting them with the wild yeast. That's one of the reasons why you don't need yeast when you make grape wine from grapes, because they have so much natural yeast on the skins themselves. It's funny how starting this hobby, I started with fruit. Of course, I started with apples, but it never occurred to me to make wine from grapes or try making traditional wines. That was never my goal, really. I have fun with the fruit. I have a lot of fun with the fruit. Okay, this is at a good level, so I'm happy. I'm probably not, I may add a little bit of water back. We'll see. But we're at, those are percentages, there's the reading. Okay, we are at 1.080. And I'm going to go to brewersfriend.com and take a look and see exactly where that's going to place me. Because when I look at my hydrometer, it tells me that 1.080 is going to give me about 12% alcohol, but I just want to make sure. $11.81. So it's about the same. So we're looking at it's not going to be a very strong wine, but it's going to be a tasty wine. And I'm good with that level. I don't think I want to be any higher than that. I want at least that inch there before the neck, so that there's some space. As the yeast start to eat, they'll be moving up. The fermenter will start to get a little warm, and you'll see a lot of bubbling action going on. I want some space to make sure that bubbling doesn't mean an explosion. That's the last thing we want. Okay, now we're going to add our usual players. We're going to use our pectic enzyme, which is very needed in this batch. Now, if you're making wine from home and you don't want to use additives, that's absolutely fine. Strawberry wine is going to become strawberry wine. It may take a little bit longer for your strawberry wine to clear, but it does become strawberry wine. It's not like you are missing anything by not using, if you don't use the additives. You very well can make natural wine without any additives at all. I use these things because they boost the production, or they boost the performance of your wine, and the final result is, to me, a lot favorable than if you just were to use strawberries and yeast. But you absolutely can use just strawberries and yeast and make yourself some wine. And that was our dynamic duo. That's our pectic enzyme and our, no, that is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. I'm going to stir them up before I work with our tannin. Now, the amounts that I used is a half teaspoon of everything, including the yeast, except for the yeast nutrient. That calls for an entire teaspoon. Oh, I'm making a mess. I did good today, though. I didn't spill any fruit. Just a little splash of juice. I just want to make sure I have everything that's completely dissolved. I'm going to turn it around just to check. Yeah, it looks good. And now I'm going to dissolve our tannin with some hot water. Actually wipe this off. It's full of strawberries. And our water is still really hot, so this should be fine. That surprised me. Dissolved pretty fast in the very beginning. It's so temperamental. This is a different batch of tannin as well. I purchased everything this time by the pound, just so I don't run out of anything. Have a little bit on the tip of the spoon. And let's see. There's loads of tannin left in this container. Let's do this one more time. It's just a little bit, so I'll be able to see it all. There we go. Oh, it's a dot, but not much. So we did pretty good with the tannin. Let's stir that all the way. All right, so it looks like a good batch. It's a good temperature, so we can go ahead and add our yeast. And when I say it's a good temperature, it's about room temperature, or cooler than body temperature, but not cold at all. And we're using Red Star Premier Classic, my favorite. I went back to using my baby. It's just so predictable. Now it's been my experience that they love these strawberries. So I'm going to see how quickly it starts to hydrate and move around. Yep. It's happy, happy, happy. I think this is going to be a fantastic batch. Okay, so there's nothing left for us to do but to add our lid. And of course, it's drilled with a grommet in it so that it can hold our airlock. Oh yeah, this is going to be, it's already beginning to make bubbles at the edges. Turn it around, see if you can see that. Well, it's on all sides. So you can see when these bubbles begin, that means some yeast have begun eating sugars already. And that's pretty fast. So it won't take them long to get acclimated to their new environment. Looks really good. Okay, I'm going to add some star sand to our airlock. We just want to go to the maximum fill line. Now, strawberry is a very busy wine, so you may see some of the juice from the strawberries push up into the airlock. Just take it off, cover this with a piece of tape or something that's sanitary, and rinse it completely, fill it up with star sand again, and you can keep going. Okay. Strawberry can be very volatile when it wants to be. I noticed when I made a batch of strawberry in the month of July, I had a lot of activity. So with me making it in early spring, it might not be so volatile. Oh, I need some more star sand in there. There we go. Open that. That's perfect. Okay. Well, that's it for our strawberry wine. Oh yeah, it's doing pretty good. Look at that. Yeah, they seem to like this potion. It's coming out pretty good so far. So that's it for our strawberry wine episode. Again, please remember to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, tell your friends. Try making some of your own wines. I know it's easy to run to the store and get a bottle of wine, but it's so much fun and it's so rewarding just to taste your own wine. It's a really great experience. I think this is going to be excellent. Okay, that's it, everybody. You have a wonderful day and bye-bye.